It seems our planet is experiencing a tectonic apocalypse. For the first time in 140 million years of Earth's history, scientists have recorded events that could change the world's geography forever. Geologists from different countries are sounding the alarm. The Indian continental plate is literally splitting right beneath our feet. 2 billion people live above a ticking time bomb without even suspecting it. Every year, the continent moves 5 centimeters deeper into Eurasia, accumulating tension that could erupt in an earthquake with a magnitude greater than 9 points more powerful than the 2004 catastrophe that claimed 250,000 lives. Scientists put it this way: we didn't even know that continents could behave in such a manner. This fault is already manifesting itself. Cities are collapsing underground. India's capital and major settlements in neighboring countries are shaking from earthquakes. The bottom of the Indian Ocean is splitting into kilometer-long cracks. This is not science fiction. This is happening right now while you're watching this video. Which countries besides India will suffer if the fault becomes fully activated? Can this fault trigger a cascade of earthquakes that will reach even Russia? And why has a recently geologically quiet place turned into a new threat for many countries? Beneath the thickness of the Indian Ocean, a geological event is unfolding that could forever change the face of our planet. What is happening with the Indian tectonic plate right now shocks even experienced geologists. The continent is literally splitting into 2 parts. For long decades, scientists ignored this region, considering it relatively calm. The Indo-Australian plate seemed like a stable structure that slowly and predictably moved toward Europe, but reality turned out to be much more dramatic. Beneath the kilometer-thick layer of ocean water, processes are occurring that geologists call the birth of a new tectonic boundary, an event so rare that modern science is observing it for the first time in history. The beginning of this continental shift started incredibly long ago. About 140 million years ago, India was part of the giant supercontinent Gondwana. Comfortably positioned next to Antarctica in the cold southern latitudes, it's hard to believe, but the territory of modern tropical India was once located practically at the South Pole. Then began one of the most epic journeys in Earth's geological history. When Gondwana began to break apart, the Indian plate separated from its neighbors and rushed northward at a speed that by geological standards was simply cosmic, about 20 centimeters per year. This is approximately 10 times faster than most tectonic plates move. Over 100 million years, India covered a distance of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers, crossing the entire Indian Ocean like a giant continental icebreaker. We can see the results of this collision today. The magnificent Himalayas, the highest mountains on the planet, continue to grow at a rate of 4 millimeters per year. Everest is literally becoming taller before our eyes. But what seemed like the end of the story turned out to be just the beginning of a new, even more complex stage. Modern research shows that the pressure India exerts on the Eurasian plate is so colossal that the Indian plate itself cannot withstand it and begins to split. This is an unusual fault, not like in Africa where the continent slowly splits along the surface. Here, something new is happening. The plate is delaminating horizontally like a layered cake. The upper part continues to press against Eurasia, supporting the Tibetan Plateau, while the lower, denser part sinks into Earth's molten mantle. This discovery overturns our understanding of how plate tectonics works. Scientists have discovered signs of a vertical fault at the boundary between 2 sections of the plate, and it is assumed that the main location of potential ruptures is in northeastern India near Bhutan. On April 11, 2012, the entire world literally shuddered. On this day occurred an event that geologists call the most significant seismic incident of the 20th century. 2 monstrous earthquakes with magnitudes of 8.6 and 8.2 rolled across the bottom of the Indian Ocean off the coast of northern Sumatra, sending shockwaves across the entire planet. But the most shocking thing, these earthquakes occurred where they shouldn't have been. Usually, such powerful seismic events happen at the boundaries of tectonic plates, where one mass of Earth's crust moves under another. But those April earthquakes occurred 100 kilometers from the nearest subduction zone, right in the center of the plate. This was so unusual that geologists spent 5 months trying to understand what actually happened. Even stranger was the character of these earthquakes. The tectonic masses passed by each other practically horizontally, with minimal vertical movement. Such events are called strike-slip earthquakes, but no one had previously recorded strike-slip earthquakes of such magnitude. This was the first time in the history of seismology. And then, scientists conducted an analysis of all earthquakes in the region starting from December 2004, that very month, when an earthquake with a magnitude of 9.1 caused a terrible tsunami. The research results were astounding. During the period from 2004 to 2012, the frequency of earthquakes in the region increased almost 10 times compared to the previous 8 years. But most remarkable, 26 of these earthquakes were similar to the April 2012 events. They all showed the same character of tectonic plate movement, as if Earth's crust was preparing for something grandiose. And this something really happened. Data analysis showed that in the Wharton Basin, a region of the Indian Ocean between India and Australia, a completely new boundary of tectonic plates is forming. Researchers discovered 62 giant basins that formed as a result of tectonic shifts along a 350-kilometer fault zone. Some of these depressions reach 3 kilometers in width and 8 kilometers in length, sizes comparable to major cities. But most amazing is that these basins have different depths. This indicates that the faulting process is more active in the southern part, where the plate is literally tearing apart with increasing intensity. The new fault is expanding at a rate of 1.7 millimeters per year. For comparison, the famous San Andreas Fault in California moves 10 times faster, and the Dead Sea Fault moves twice as fast. But even at such a slow speed, the consequences could be catastrophic for millions of people. The global consequences of the April 2012 earthquakes exceeded all scientists' expectations. Fred Politz from the United States Geological Survey discovered that within 6 days after April 11, the number of earthquakes with magnitude 5 and higher increased almost 5 times worldwide. This was the largest incident of this kind ever recorded. Nature seems to use the domino principle. One large earthquake triggers a chain reaction of seismic events on other continents. Shock waves that passed through Earth's mantle activated dormant faults from California to Turkey. What is happening now with the Indian plate threatens not only the geological stability of the region, but also the lives of almost 2 billion people. Experts warn of an approaching major earthquake in the Himalayas that could become one of the largest natural disasters in human history. The scale of the potential catastrophe is mind-boggling. The entire Himalayan belt is considered susceptible to strong earthquakes with magnitudes over 8 points. For comparison, the earthquake in Turkey and Syria in 2023 had a magnitude of 7.8 and claimed the lives of 45,000 people. A Himalayan earthquake could be significantly stronger and affect tens of times more cities. Already now the region demonstrates alarming signs of instability. In the Indian city of Joshimath, located in the Himalayan foothills, residents are witnessing incredible scenes there. The ground is literally slipping away from under their feet. Huge cracks have stretched along the streets, damaging the foundations of about 500 houses. Authorities are forced to conduct regular evacuations, but they cannot yet stop the process of the city sinking underground. And even India's capital is not protected from seismic activity. On February 17, 2025, Delhi was shaken by an earthquake with a magnitude of 4.9, the strongest in the city in the last 5 years. At that time, many residents reported unusual sounds. This sound convinced people that the earthquake was different in nature. Delhi is located in the 4th seismically active zone, the second most dangerous category in India. This means that during a strong earthquake, buildings and infrastructure could be seriously damaged. Given that more than 30 million people live in Delhi's national capital region, the consequences of a major earthquake could be catastrophic. Under the waters of the Indian Ocean, the situation is developing no less dramatically. A new system of active faults between the Indian and Arabian plates increases the risk of earthquakes and tsunamis. French researchers discovered an 800-kilometer fault that remains active and often causes huge landslides on the sea floor. Such danger is presented by the western side of the Owen Ridge, where numerous traces of underwater landslides are observed. These landslides consist of solid blocks of rock about 100 meters high and 2 kilometers long, each weighing millions of tons. They are potential sources of tsunamis for the coast of Oman and other countries of the Arabian Peninsula. The memory of the 2004 tsunami caused by an earthquake off the coast of Sumatra still lives in the hearts of the region's inhabitants. Then an underwater earthquake with a magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3 became one of the deadliest natural disasters in human history. The shift of the Indian plate under the Burma plate over 1,600 kilometers led to gigantic rock collapses and the formation of killer waves up to 30 m high. What is happening with the Indian plate is only part of a global tectonic restructuring that affects all corners of the planet. Analysis of seismic waves under Tibet revealed an amazing picture. The mantle is torn into 4 separate segments. This discovery explains why powerful earthquakes occur not in all but only in some regions of Tibet. In the upper layers of the mantle under the Tibetan Plateau, there are 4 major breaks where flows of the Indian plate's sinking crust move at different speeds and in different directions. This creates a complex mosaic of tension that periodically erupts in the form of strong earthquakes. But India is not the only continent experiencing tectonic upheaval. In East Africa, a process is developing that in several million years could lead to the appearance of a new ocean. The East African Rift is stretching at a rate of 6 to 7 millimeters per year, which is 4 times faster than the Indian Fault. Parallel to continental changes, dramatic events are occurring in the oceans. Research by the British naval vessel HMS Scott showed the scale of underwater changes after the 2004 earthquake and tsunami. Accumulations 100 meters high collapsed, causing huge landslides. In the earthquake zone, an oceanic depression several kilometers wide was exposed a real scar on the face of the planet. These changes to the ocean floor affect ocean currents, which could have long-term consequences for the climate of the entire world. Continental plates don't just move, they interact in a complex chain, influencing each other across thousands of kilometers. As we already understand, an earthquake in one part of the world can activate dormant faults on another continent, creating a cascading effect. The future is scarier than any fiction. Computer models show an amazing picture of the future. In approximately 50 million years, Africa and Australia will approach Eurasia closely, creating a new supercontinent. Then Antarctica and both Americas will join them. The planet will again become a single continental mass surrounded by ocean, just as it was 250 million years ago during the time of Pangaea. But the path to this unification will be painful. Each collision of continents will give birth to new mountain systems that will surpass modern Himalayas in height. Imagine mountains 15 to 20 kilometers high, where even at the peaks you would feel the gravitational effect of their mass. More alarming prospects are connected with the accumulation of seismic tension. Every year, the Indian plate advances 5 centimeters deeper into Eurasia. This tension cannot accumulate indefinitely. Sooner or later, it will emerge in the form of a catastrophic earthquake. Seismology specialists have developed a scenario for a possible earthquake in the Himalayas with a magnitude greater than 9 points. Such an event would affect territory from Pakistan to Myanmar, where more than 200 million people live, and the reverberations would reach even Russia. The region's modern cities Delhi, Kathmandu, Islamabad are not ready for such upheavals. The economic consequences could surpass all previous natural disasters. By the way, the Himalayan region is not only home to millions of people, but also a source of fresh water for a third of humanity. A major earthquake could change the flow of rivers, creating water supply problems from China to Bangladesh. The climatic consequences of tectonic changes also require attention. The growth of the Himalayas affects monsoon cycles that determine weather for half of humanity. Any changes in the height and shape of the mountain barrier could shift desert boundaries, change precipitation amounts and temperature regimes across vast territories. The main problem is that most countries do not have adequate response plans for major disasters. Building codes often ignore seismic risks. A simple example: Turkey, where they didn't care about this, which led to the destruction of entire cities. And early warning systems generally work only in some areas. Meanwhile, the Indian plate continues its slow but inexorable movement northward. Every day it brings us closer to a new geological milestone, beyond which awaits a planet with completely different geography.